If there's one thing we can take away from all of this, it's that the mainstream way, the most common way to go about fat loss is absolutely wrong. No wonder 95% people fail to keep it off in the long term. I'm sure it's obvious by now that this is definitely not the way to go about it. Well, what is then? You see, the only similarity among the 5% of people who are able to keep their weight off is not the kind of diet they're following, is not anything else. The only similarity, the only common factor among them is you are going about fat loss all wrong. You probably clicked on this video hoping to find a diet that will help you lose weight in the fastest, most easiest way possible. But you see, weight loss is not difficult. I'm not saying the cliched line of it's simple but it's not easy. I'm saying it is simple. I'm saying it is easy. Most people who try to lose weight are able to do so. Most people who try to shed a few pounds or many are successfully able to do so. You see, it's not the losing weight that's the problem, it's the keeping it off that most people struggle with. Within 1 year of weight loss, 50 to 70% of people who would successfully lost weight gain it all back. Within 2 years, 85% of people regain all of the weight that they lost. Within 3 years, 95% of people gain back all of the weight that they'd put in so much work, so much effort to lose. The success rate of diets, therefore, should not be seen as the rate of people who were successfully able to lose weight, but as the rate of people who were successfully able to keep it off, and that rate is just 5%. As if all of that wasn't bad enough, that we have one more statistic that's even more disturbing than all of these. Out of the people who regain their weight, 1/3 to 2/3 of them, let's take the average of that, about 50% of them gain back more weight than they had originally lost. These were people who were unhappy with how they looked, so they decided to go on a diet. They decided to lose some weight. They set out a plan. They were disciplined and determined about it. They successfully lost the weight that they wanted to lose. They started feeling happy about themselves. They started feeling good about how they looked now. But for some reason, over the next 3 years, for most even 1 to 2 years, they regained all of the weight that they had lost and some. So essentially, these people ended up worse off than they had ever started out. At the end of these 3 years of practicing self-restraint and self-control and stopping themselves from eating what they wanted to eat, after ignoring their cravings, after this long grind, which I'm sure couldn't have been easy, they ended up worse off than they were before they'd done any of this. If there's one thing we can take away from all of this, it's that the mainstream way, the most common way to go about fat loss is absolutely wrong. So through this video, we'll go through what the correct way to go about it is. Before I forget, mandatory sleeveless flex. Those are the triceps being flexed. Here's the biceps. I've been working my delts real good lately. Check this. Oh my god, dude. Check those rear delts out. Fuck. Keep on the grind, boys. 100% worth it. Okay, coming back to this, let's begin with the most fundamental, the most common mistake that almost every one of you is making, that as long as you keep making, you cannot possibly lose weight in the long term. For that, let's revisit the fundamentals for a second. How does fat loss or how does fat gain even happen? What has to happen inside your body for fat loss or fat gain to occur? Whenever you consume more calories than your body is burning, your body takes these excess calories and stores them in the form of fat. This is how you gain fat. And whenever you consume lesser calories than your body is burning, it has no option but to tap into these very fat reserves in order to meet its daily energy requirements. And that is how you lose fat. With me so far, right? Let's now take an example of how most people go about their fat loss journeys. Let's say we have Andrew. Andrew looks at himself one morning in the mirror and is not happy with what he sees. He realizes that he definitely needs to lose some fat and decides to do something about it. He goes on a diet and is diligent about it. Within a few months, let's say he loses 5 kgs. He's now happy with what he looks like, and by now he's sick of the diet. So he ends the diet and starts eating again the way he used to earlier. Isn't that exactly how most people go about their fat loss journeys? No wonder 95% people fail to keep it off in the long term. What do you think will happen with Andrew now? Let's say his maintenance was what, 3000 calories. He was eating somewhere around 31, 3200 calories, and so he kept gaining weight slowly but steadily. At one point he realized, this is not good, I've gained a lot of weight. He goes on a cut, starts eating, let's say, 2500 calories a day. He loses all of that weight, but now that he's lost it, he goes back to eating the way he was. We're not even accounting for the body's self-defense system and for it regulating the metabolism and bringing it down. More on that in a video I'll link over here somewhere. Press the I button. We're not even going into that. Let's say his metabolism stays constant, which it 100% won't. But as soon as he starts eating the way he was, won't he inevitably gain back all of that weight? Taking into account the self-defense system too, won't he gain back all of the weight really, really fast? The question isn't even if he'll gain back the weight anymore. The question is, how fast will he gain it all back? Looking at it from a zoomed out perspective, Andrew's whole life is going to be a cycle of realizing that he's put on a good amount of weight, going on a diet, losing all of that weight, ending the diet, gaining it all back, and realizing that he's put on a good amount of weight. Those of you who've seen my video on the body's self-defense system, you know that every next time that he diets, he's going to make it more and more difficult for himself to lose that weight the next time around, and he's going to gain it all back faster and faster every next time around. I'm sure it's obvious by now that this is definitely not the way to go about it. Well, what is then? Let's revisit the fundamentals just one more time, just for 1 second. How do you gain fat? What is the one thing you need to do to gain fat? What is the only way to gain fat? To eat more calories than you're burning. So what would be the only way, what would be the only one thing you need to do to not gain fat? To not eat more calories than you're burning, to eat lesser calories than you're burning, or to eat as many calories as you're burning. I know you know that, and that is why every time you diet, you crash diet so bad, you eat so much lesser than you're burning. But what you don't understand, the logical conclusion that you haven't been able to reach so far for some reason, that the mainstream knowledge never goes into, is that you need to not eat more calories than you're burning ever. Not just for the next 6 months, after which you'll end your diet and go back to eating like a pig. Not for the next year, after which you'll end your diet and once again go back to eating like a pig. But you need to never eat more than you're burning ever. I'm not saying that you can't have your cheat days. I'm not saying that you can never go all out. I'm not saying that you can never enjoy yourself. In fact, I'm a big proponent of the exact opposite. More on that later. What I'm saying is that we need to change your perception, we need to change your understanding of what a diet even means. I'm saying that you need to stop seeing a diet as something with a starting point and an ending point. I'm saying you need to start viewing the diet that you finally decide to start with as a lifestyle, as something that you will continue with for perpetuity. This is the concept I want you to internalize. This is the biggest, most important concept you need to understand, that the diet never ends. You see, the only similarity among the 5% of people who are able to keep their weight off is not the kind of diet they're following, is not anything else. The only similarity, the only common factor among them is that they're able to stick to their diet in the long term. The only takeaway I want you to take from this entire video up to this point, from everything that we covered up to now, is that the best diet for you is not the one that will help you lose weight in the fastest, most easiest way, nor is it the one that will help you lose weight in the most optimal or the most efficient way. Generally, we want to go about things in the most efficient, the most optimal way, but even that doesn't matter over here. The best diet for you, the only factor that will determine what the best diet for you is if you will be able to stick to it in the long term. The best diet for you is the one that you can continue with forever. And so the best diet for you is the one that you are already eating. The best diet for you is the one that you've grown up eating, because that is the food that you love the most. That is your favorite food. My dad, for example, he absolutely loves his puri alus and his gulab jamuns and his rasgullas. But up until recently, whenever he decided to shed some weight, he would try to completely cut them off. He would try to completely restrict himself from those foods. What do you think inevitably happened? He would be able to keep up with it for a week, for 2 weeks maximum, at the end of which he would inevitably go and have his food, because that is the food he craves, that is the food he loves the most. So the best diet for you is the food that you like, dude. What sense would it make if, knowing that the best diet is the one that you can stick to in the long term, I say that you should start eating this and this and this, when those foods might not even be in the realm of what you like. They might be something that you never eat, but just for the sake of losing some weight, if you decide to start eating those foods, do you think you'll be able to stick to that in the long term? Obviously not, right? So eat what you like, eat what makes you feel good, because that is the only diet that you will be able to stick to in the long term. Now, you might say doing just that is exactly why I am in this problem, is exactly why I'm sitting here unhappy with how I look watching a video on how to lose fat. But to you, I'll say, it's not the food that you're eating that's the problem, it's how much you're eating that's the problem. Eating 2 slices of pizza is a very, very different story from eating a whole pizza by yourself. Eat what you want, eat what you like to eat, but of course, eat within reason. That's the caveat here. See, any and every diet is going to have its restrictions. Keto is going to tell you to not eat carbs. A low-fat diet is going to tell you to not eat fats. A healthy-only diet is going to tell you to not eat any junk food. But the only caveat, the only restriction over here is to limit whatever you're eating. Eat whatever you want to eat, but eat within reason, right? Eat within the restriction of your maintenance calories. Now, I understand quite a few of you still might not be sold on what I'm trying to say. A lot of you are very emotional about what is healthy food, what is clean food, what is junk and bad and unhealthy food. But here's a fact for you, here's a statistic for you. No food is as bad as fat is for you. Understand this, internalize this, and before you misinterpret what I just said, let me expand upon that. There is nothing wrong with fats. What there is something wrong with is fat. Body fat. So let me come again, let me try to rephrase that. Nothing that you put in your mouth is going to be as bad for your body as body fat is for you. What I'm trying to say is that if eating a pizza or a burger or a donut once a week is going to help satisfy your cravings, if it's going to help keep you on track, if it's going to help keep you on your fat loss journey more consistently, if it's going to help you stay at your maintenance for the entire week, by all means, go for it. Have your pizza, have your burger, have your puri aloo, for fuck's sake. In conclusion, you are an adult. You can have your donut, you can have your veggies, but you gotta understand, you gotta realize the drawbacks of each of them. As far as fat loss is concerned, a 300 calorie donut is the same as 300 calories of veggies, but 300 calories of veggies for lunch will keep you satiated until dinner. The donut will make you feel more hungry than you were in the first place. You have to choose which has more value for you. Both the choices have their advantages and their shortcomings. You could choose the chicken and the veggies and half a potato, which would keep you satiated. Let's say you have this for lunch, this would keep you satiated until dinner. But would the drawback of not eating the donut be too big of a loss for you? That's up to you to decide. Or you could have the donut, which is worth about the same calories, so you could have the donut for your lunch instead of the veggies and chicken and potato. But would satisfying the craving of the donut be worth the hunger that you're going to face, that you're going to feel later on? Because this won't make you feel satiated, this won't fill your stomach. You'll feel hungry up until dinner, and your calories for the day are fixed. It's what you can decide what to eat, how to fill those calories, but the amount of total calories you can eat is fixed. So it's up to you to decide the opportunity cost that you want to go with. Do you want to satisfy the craving but feel hunger for most of the day, or do you want to feel satiated and feel full? The choice that you make is going to vary from time to time. Sometimes you're going to want to satisfy your cravings, sometimes you're going to want to feel satiated. The point is to give yourself the choice. You see, we as human beings, we want freedom. As long as you are restricting yourself, as long as you're forcing yourself to make this choice every time around, your cravings for this keep increasing and increasing, and then you get emotional about your foods. You put this food on a pedestal, you start craving this crazily, and then when you finally eat it, you binge and you eat 2-3 times the amount that you would have otherwise. This is exactly what I used to do. But for the past 6 months, I started giving myself the choice. I started seeing myself as mature enough to be able to make the choice of what I wanted to do. And I surprised myself by choosing this option most of the time. Initially, of course, I went with this one every time around because, bro, once you're craving this shit for so long, once you've had this image in your mind of good food and bad food for so long, as soon as you open up the choice to have the bad food, you go all out. But very, very soon, I started realizing that satisfying this craving wasn't worth the hunger that I was going to feel every single time. Gradually, I started gravitating more towards this choice, and today I do make this choice 90% of the times, 90 to 95% of the times, 5% of the times, maybe one meal a week I'll go and have a pizza. And I know that I'm gonna feel so fucking hungry until dinner now, but that's a sacrifice that I am willingly making. That is the perfect diet for you. That is how you want to go about it. Everything that you like comes within your perfect diet. Now, from time to time, you choose what is worth what sacrifice. That is all I have for you today, guys. I wish you all the best on this fat loss journey, and I'll see you in the next one.